So, hello and welcome to the lesson on orthogonal curvilinear coordinates. So, suppose we have a point P in space whose coordinates are given as x, y and z, and if it is displaced to another point P dash whose coordinates are given as x plus dx, y plus dy, z plus dz, then we note that the displacement vector is given as dx into the unit vector along the x direction I cap, and similarly plus dy j cap plus dz k cap, and so on and so forth. But for many problems, representing the equations in the Cartesian coordinates may be tedious, and especially if you are dealing with different shaped bodies that are immersed in fluid. So, therefore, it becomes imperative to introduce a coordinate system that will reflect the shape and symmetries of the problem, and these examples may include the cylindrical and the spherical polar coordinates. These coordinate systems are constructed so that the corresponding unit vectors are orthogonal, that is perpendicular to one another. In terms of the vector notation, what this implies is that the dot product between any two corresponding unit vectors is 0, and if we take the cross product in the cyclic order, it gives us the third vector in the or the unit vector in the perpendicular direction. So, I have E1 cap cross E2 cap is equal to E3 cap, E2 cap cross E3 cap is equal to E1 cap, and similarly E3 cap cross E1 cap is equal to E2 cap. So, let us see how do we represent the coordinate systems in the cylindrical polar coordinates. So, suppose I have a point P in space whose coordinates are given to me as x, y, z. Now, if I am representing them in the cylindrical polar coordinates, so the point can also be identified in the space by its distance from the z axis. So, I drop down the coordinate of the point P on my x or y plane. So, this distance O for this point P, that is my distance from the z axis, that is rho, its angular distance from the x axis, so which is theta, and its height from the x or y plane, that is my z. So, if from this point, if we are drawing a line parallel to the y axis, this is my y axis, and a line parallel to the x axis, so this is my x axis. So, I will have that this distance which is my x coordinate, this distance which is my y coordinate will be equal to rho sin theta, and this distance, right, this distance is my x coordinate, that will be rho cos theta, and of course, the height is basically nothing else but my z coordinate. So, the Cartesian coordinates and the cylindrical coordinates, they are related by the transformations that x is equal to rho cos theta, y is equal to rho sin theta, and z is equal to z. Now, we wish to also take the unit vectors along these three coordinates, which are rho, theta and z, and we represent them by E rho cap, E theta cap and E z cap. So, my E rho cap will be acting in the direction of the rho, that means in this direction. E theta cap is perpendicular to my E rho cap and will be acting in the tangential direction to this curve that I have, or basically this becomes a sort of a circle, and my E k cap of course will be acting in the direction of the z axis itself. So, the unit vector E rho cap in terms of the unit vectors of my Cartesian coordinates is given as cos theta into I cap and plus sin theta into j cap, and similarly E theta cap is sin theta minus a sin theta into I cap plus cos theta into j cap, and E z cap of course is the k cap. And if you want to also represent your unit vectors I, j and k in terms of your E rho cap, E theta cap and E z cap, you may do it that by using the inverse transformation, or just write it down in terms of a matrix. So, this becomes my column matrix having the unit vectors E rho cap, E theta cap, E z cap. The coefficient matrix will be cos theta, sin theta 0, minus sin theta, cos theta 0, 0, 0, 1 into the column vector, which will have these vectors I, j and k. So, the coefficient matrix that you have, just take the inverse of it and you can represent your I, j and k in terms of these unit vectors E rho cap, E theta cap and E z cap. Now, a word of caution over here, that unlike the Cartesian unit vectors, which are constant. They have a constant magnitude which is 1, and they also have a constant direction. But these unit vectors, my E rho cap, E theta cap, E z cap, though they have a constant magnitude of unity, but their direction is not constant. So just imagine that suppose you have a point P over here whose projection comes over here. So your E rho cap direction is going to change, and so will the E theta cap direction will be changed. In cylindrical polar coordinates, of course, my E k cap, that remains in a constant direction. So what are their change with respect to, so if you look again, that basically my all these two unit vectors, they are a function now of the variable theta that is occurring over here. So let us see what is the rate of change of these unit vectors with respect to theta. So for the unit vector along the radius vector, which I am representing by E rho cap, I will get by simple differentiation. So remember, the direction of I and j are constant, and their magnitude is also constant. So keeping them as a constant, I have them as minus sin theta into I cap plus cos theta into j cap, which is nothing else but my E theta cap. And the rate of change of E theta cap with respect to theta comes out to be negative of your E rho cap, and of course the change with respect to is 0 also. So geometrically also we would have assumed this is what I am going to get, because if you take the rate of change of E rho cap, so remember from your class of calculus, the derivative of this E rho cap or the change in the E rho cap will be a vector which is perpendicular to it. So therefore the rate of change of E rho cap comes out to be E theta cap, whereas when you take it the derivative of E theta cap, it will be perpendicular, and your right hand thumb rule will apply. So it will be in this direction opposite to your E rho cap, and that is exactly what we get it theoretically also. Now the position vector of a point P in Cartesian coordinates is is given as xi plus yj plus zk, where x, y, z are my coordinates of the point P. So if I replace my coordinates x, y, z by the cylindrical polar coordinates, so x is my rho cos theta, y is my rho sin theta, and z remains as z. And if I combine these two terms, so what I get is, I get that the position vector is given as the magnitude, the rate of the radius, which is rho, in the direction of E rho cap plus z into k cap. So geometrically also this can be verified easily, but we are also concerned in looking at that what will be the change in the position. Now the change in the position we know is given as the change in this position vector r cap. So we apply the product rule over here, and again as I had mentioned before, be very careful that in this case the unit vector E rho cap is not a constant. So when I take the derivative, I am going to get this as derivative of my radius, which is d rho, in the direction of my E rho cap plus rho into the derivative of E rho cap plus dz into k cap. So this derivative, the rate of change of the unit vector along the radius is given as the unit vector in terms of theta cap and the change in d theta. So you see you have another term coming over here when I take the change in the position in the cylindrical polar coordinates. Let us also represent the gradient in the polar coordinates. So recall that if f is any scalar field in the Cartesian coordinate system, then the gradient of the scalar is defined as the operator del operating on the scalar field f, and you get a vector quantity which is represented as rate of change of f with respect to x in the direction of x plus the rate of change of f with respect to the coordinate y in the direction of y plus rate of change of f with respect to z in the direction of z. So before we write down the gradient in the polar coordinates, we would like to first see that how do we have the del operator being transformed into the cylindrical polar coordinate system. So again recall, you have to have the rate of change, you are changing the coordinate system over here. So x now will depend upon your rho, theta and z. So when I take the rate of change with respect to x, applying the chain rule in your partial derivatives, you will get this rate of change with respect to the coordinate rho into the rate of change of the coordinate rho with respect to x, and similarly with respect to theta and with respect to z. So again recall that going back to our coordinate system, where we have yeah. So I have that these were the change from the Cartesian coordinates being related to the cylindrical polar coordinates. But from here you can see that rho will be equal to your x square plus y square under root, and theta would be equal to tan inverse of y by x, and z of course is equal to z. So maybe you can just pause the video here for some time and try to see that this is the rate that you are going to get, because rho, as I told you, in terms of your coordinates x, y, z, rho is equal to under root of x square plus y square. Theta is given as tan inverse of y by x, and of course z remains same as z. So z is independent of x. I will not get any component from this place. So I am going to get these two components, and that is going to give me as this. So pause the video here for some time. Just try to do a little bit of calculation yourself and verify that this operator del by del x comes out to be equal to cos theta into del by del rho minus sin theta by rho into del by del theta, whereas del by del y comes out to be equal to sin theta into del by del rho plus cos theta upon rho into del by del theta. And the last component, because we are not changing the direction of z when I am changing from my Cartesian coordinate to the cylindrical polar coordinates. So this remains the same. So when I combine the terms, because the del operator is given as del by del x in the direction of x, which is I cap, plus del by del y into j cap plus del by del z into k cap. When I put that over here, combine the terms, I get my del operator in my cylindrical polar coordinates as del by del rho into E rho cap plus 1 by rho into del by del theta of E theta cap plus del by del z into E z cap. So now I am ready to write down the gradient in the scalar field. So gradient is my del operator operating on my scalar field f. So that is given as by del f by del rho into E rho cap. That means this is the component in the direction of my radius, and of course there has to be a plus sign over here. So I will just change this. Yeah. So now it is okay. So this is your gradient in the polar coordinates. The next thing we wish to find out is the divergence in the polar coordinates. So the divergence, in Cartesian coordinates is found for a vector field. So suppose I have a vector field f with components f1, f2, f3 in my x, y and z direction, and f1, f2, f3 would also be functions of x, y and z. So the divergence of the vector field in Cartesian coordinate is defined by this. So in the cylindrical coordinate system, the divergence of the vector field, so we have already found out the del vector. The del vector in cylindrical polar coordinates was this, and now suppose I change my x, y, z in terms of my polar coordinates rho, theta and z. So f1, f2, f3 will now become functions of your cylindrical polar coordinates rho, theta and z, and these are the components that I am putting it. So, I have that the component of the vector field f in the direction of E rho cap is f rho, similarly E theta cap is f theta and E z cap is f z, and I want to take its del operator. So, the dot product with the del operator. Again a word of caution that my E rho and E theta are not constant, right. So, when I am going to put this operator over here, I will have to be very careful while calculating the derivatives. Pause the video over here for some time, try to do the calculations yourself and verify that this is the end product that you get, equation number 10 for the divergence in the polar coordinates. As I was telling you, a word of caution that when I take the dot product, so naturally E rho cap cross E rho cap is going to be 1, right, but I also need to apply my del operator over here. So, what it is basically, it is going to be my E rho cap dot the derivative of this whole quantity with respect to rho plus E theta cap dot 1 by rho into del by del theta of this whole vector plus E z cap dot the derivative of this vector with respect to z. So, when I take these derivatives, so remember that I will have to apply my chain rule over here, but all these unit vectors E rho cap, E theta cap, E z cap were independent of rho. So, in the first component I am going to have no issues because they will remain as it is. I will have to take the derivative only of the components of the vector field f. But in the second component, I also need to apply my product rule for this first term because my unit vector in the direction of rho depended upon theta, and I have that my derivative of the unit vector E rho cap with respect to theta comes out to be equal to in fact my E theta cap. So, I have to be a little careful out over here. And similarly, even in the second term, of course, the third term my E z cap was independent of that. So, that will remain as it is. So, when I take the derivative, take the dot product and remember that my E rho cap, E theta cap and E z cap are orthogonal. So, E rho cap dot E theta cap is going to be 0 and so on and so forth. So, this is the expression that you should be able to derive. So, take a pause over here, do the calculations yourself, verify it for yourself that this is the expression that you are getting for the divergence of a vector field f in your cylindrical polar coordinates. The next thing that we wish to do is representing the curl in the cylindrical polar coordinates. So, the curl of a vector field f is defined as the cross product of the vector field f with respect to this del operator, and if I expand that this is what I get it. So, the del vector we have derived it, we take its cross product with respect to the vector field expressed in my cylindrical polar coordinates. I go about in the similar fashion as we did for the divergence, except now I am going to have the cross product, the dot product gets replaced by the cross product, and remember again that these vectors are orthogonal. So, the cross product of E rho cap with respect to E rho cap is going to be 0, the cross product of E rho cap with respect to E theta cap is going to be my E z cap, whereas if I have E theta cap cross E rho cap it will be minus E z cap. So, using all those vector notations, this is the final expression that we get over here. So, please derive this yourself to satisfy that this is the expression that we are getting for the curl in the spherical polar curl in the cylindrical polar coordinates. Okay. So, now we next move to the spherical polar coordinates. So, if I have again a point P x y z in space, So, this point in fact can also be represented as, so I have its distance from the origin, which is r. I take its projection on the x or y plane, which is capital R. So, I have its angular distance from the x axis, which is phi. Now, along with that I have another angle that is there, which is my azimuthal angle, which I call it as theta, which basically tells me that whether the point P is lying above my x or y plane or below my x or y plane. So, when phi of course will going to vary from 0 to 360, the complete circle, my theta basically varies from 0 to 180 degrees. So, that is how my theta varies. So, if I take my the distance OQ, remember that this is a 90 degree angle. So, OQ is equal to r into cos theta, whereas my PQ is and my OR, which these are parallel to each other, they are r sin theta. So, OR is r sin theta, just as we had done it in terms of our cylindrical polar coordinates. The x coordinate, which is equal to SR, comes out to be equal to now r sin theta into cos phi, whereas the x coordinate is OS, yes, and the y coordinate, which is SR, comes out to be equal to r sin phi into sin theta, whereas the z coordinate is equal to OQ, which is equal to r cos theta. So, this is how you have the relationship between the Cartesian coordinates and the spherical polar coordinates. If you want to represent your r theta phi in terms of x, y, z, so you can see that r square will be equal to x square plus y square plus z square, whereas your phi will be equal to tan inverse of y by x, and your theta would be equal to tan inverse of z upon under root of x square plus y square, right. So, these are the transformations you have from either the Cartesian to the spherical polar coordinates or the spherical polar coordinates to the Cartesian polar coordinates. So, again if we represent the unit vectors in these three directions r, phi and theta as E r cap, E phi cap and E theta cap, then this is how your I, j, k are expressed in terms of the spherical unit vectors. And as I had mentioned before, if you write it in terms of the matrix, so you will have the coefficient matrix consisting of the terms of sin theta cos phi cos phi minus sin phi sin phi, cos theta sin phi cos theta minus sin theta 0. Take the inverse of that matrix and you should be able to express the unit vectors in terms of the spherical polar coordinates in terms of the unit vectors in the Cartesian polar coordinates. Again these unit vectors in the spherical polar coordinates have a constant magnitude of 1, but their direction is not constant. In this case, if you look at that, your unit vectors, they are now functions of theta and phi. Of course, they are independent of rho. So, their change with respect to rho will be 0, but their change with respect to theta and phi is something that we can find out by simple derivative. So, what we observe is that if I take the rate of change of the unit vector in the direction of the radius with respect to theta, I get a unit vector in the direction of theta, whereas if I take it with respect to phi, then I also get this factor sin theta. So, this is a scaling factor sin theta, and of course, the direction is E phi cap, and similarly you can see for the other derivatives also. So, let us see that what will be the position vector in terms of the spherical polar coordinates. So, the position vector for a point P is given as in the Cartesian coordinates xi, y, j and zk. Replace x, y, z by the spherical polar coordinates, combine the terms, and what we get is a simple term this, which was to be expected because if I look at this, so the position vector of P in terms of the spherical coordinate is just its magnitude or the distance from the origin r in the direction of the radius vector, which is my ER cap, and that is exactly what we have got. So, just as we know we did it for the cylindrical polar coordinates, I leave this as an exercise for you to do, that you find out the change in the position vector. So, the change in the position vector is your dr cap. Find out what will be the change in the position vector, and also express the del operator in terms of the spherical polar coordinates, and using this del operator find out the gradient of a scalar field f and the divergence and curl of the vector field f in spherical polar coordinates. And in case you need help to find out the final expression for these in this thing, so this is a link that is given to you and you can look at the final link. But the calculations and is something that you will need to do it, try it out yourself, so that you get a hang about how these change in coordinates are happening from one system to the other system. So, now let us move on to the main topic that we had to discuss, which was the generalized orthogonal coordinates. So, in this case what happens is these are called as curvilinear coordinate system, because in this case my axis need not always be a straight line, but we have curves, and that is why these are called as curvilinear coordinate system and orthogonal, because they will satisfy the condition of orthogonality, which was basically what, that if I have EQ1, EQ2 and EQ3 are the unit vectors along these three directions, then their respective dot products will be 0, and their cross product will move in a cyclic manner, that is EQ1 cap into cross EQ2 cap will give you EQ3 cap, and so on and so forth. So, suppose now the position vector in this new coordinate system is given to us by this term. So, you have a factor f1, a function f1, which is the function of these coordinates q1, q2, q3 in the direction of your q1, and similarly a component in the direction of q2, and f3 will be the component in the direction of EQ3 cap. So, the change in the position vector is given as this. So, this total change r is a function of q1, q2 and q3. So, I will have this as del r into del q1 into dq1, and the rate of change of this position vector r cap with respect to q2, and this I am going to represent it as, it will have certain magnitude which I am calling it as h1, and this is the rate of change in the direction of EQ1 cap. So, my rate of change of the vector r with respect to q1, we are representing it as h1 into EQ1 cap. These HIs, h1, h2, h3 are called as scale factors, and these are the magnitude of this rate of change of the vector r with respect to the coordinates q1, q2 and q3. So, it becomes easier if I represent it like this with the certain scale factors that we have. So, again simple exercise for all of you, the way we have done it for the cylindrical polar coordinates, that express the gradient of a scalar field f, the divergence and curl of a vector field f in the generalized orthogonal curvilinear system, and this is a solution which I have already given it to you, that the del operator will be represented in this way. The gradient of a scalar field is given by this, and similarly we have the divergence and the curl operator for my curvilinear coordinate system. So, they are all represented in terms of the scale factors h1, h2 and h3. So, try to identify what are the scale factors for the cylindrical and the spherical polar coordinate system, because cylindrical and the spherical polar coordinate systems are in fact two very specialized form of my curvilinear orthogonal systems. So, just try to identify Over here what are h1, h2, h3 for the cylindrical and the spherical polar coordinates which we have derived earlier. Now, this is the first assignment for you, that you will have to express the Laplacian operator. The Laplacian operator is given as del square, which is nothing else but the double derivative with respect to x plus the double derivative with respect to y plus the double derivative with respect to z, and this is of course in the Cartesian coordinate. So, express the Laplacian operator in terms of the cylindrical and the spherical coordinates. So, this is the first assignment for you to do it. Thank you so much, and any questions we shall take it up later.